I don't see color. I treat everyone the same. I hear this phrase a lot, but I don't think people understand that concept. I'm often reminded of Plato's allegory, The Cave, where the understanding of the real world is not found until the cave member actually experienced the world outside the cave. Being part of a multicultural family, I want to give an informal tour of the modern-day multicultural family. To better understand this, you must first look at the loving family. Their marriage was symbolic because they opened the door and paved the way for many interracial marriages to be formed legally. My wife, who is Mexican descent, and myself, African American, married in July 25, 1997. Our lives and cultures began to intertwine, and our kids blossomed in it, to the point where they experienced diversity dilemmas, but always kept the feeling of being confident in who they are and what makes them valuable. The representation of both our cultures was evident in everything they did and everything they enjoyed. During the holidays, we always experienced this more so than any other time during the year. Our holidays start off by first visiting and experiencing the African American culture as we journey to visit my sister's family in Dallas. Her and her husband are from Louisiana, which has its own culture and values that completes their family. Her children sees my wife no different than any other aunt they have. You see, not recognizing color means that the content of what you talk about remains the same. Race doesn't become the most important topic of choice. My sister kids treat my wife as they would any other aunt because they are already used to being around her. Their activities remain the same. Their fun and enjoyment with their family doesn't change just because someone of a different culture is there. Their questions are not turned towards finding out more about that particular culture, because usually that's already been discussed and discovered. Simple enjoyment is all they look for. With our children going to college on the East Coast, we now must fly across the country from Texas to Boston as we meet up with our son and our daughter. Our daughter lives in Connecticut, and this year we're going to be celebrating Thanksgiving in Connecticut. But we're going to catch a couple of basketball games since our son plays for his college there in Boston. Our daughter from San Antonio, Texas will be meeting us up there as well. It's an interesting situation to witness our children and how comfortable they are from various backgrounds. Being in public is not a big deal to our children. They've been engulfed in this their whole life. Our son is introducing us to the girl he's dating, who's from a small island outside of Haiti. And our daughter has her longtime friend of Mexican descent visiting us from New York and is going to be spending Thanksgiving with us. We sit around the table and connect on all the things that's pertinent in our life, not necessarily talking about culture or diversity. This is, again, something that we're used to being around, and therefore is not a necessary tone that has to be brought up in every situation or conversation that we embark on. Again, enjoyment and interaction is what we look for. Well, it's Thanksgiving time, and we're greeted by my little niece, Maya. Her mom is my half-sister, part African American and part Caucasian. She's actually married to an African American gentleman from the Bronx, New York. Her family is split between having two sisters who are Caucasian, and they themselves have a husband and boyfriend who are Puerto Rican and Italian. The mixture of family is evident, but it's not the main focus or the main content that we talk about. We're so used to having various cultures represented. Our time is spent enjoying the holidays with each other before we have to fly back. And as we fly back to Texas and prepare to use the last bit of time that we have to enjoy our presence of my wife's family, I'm reminded about how things switch. I become the lone African American in a sea of Mexican descent, but it doesn't prevent me from enjoying the opportune time that I have with everyone in the family. In regards to the technology world, I think as I sit and enjoy the company of my wife's family and the Mexican culture, I often think about technology and how the multicultural family would be impacted by it. With so much ability for multicultural families to spread and be all over the world and intertwine with each other, how will that impact my family? Will it be a benefit? Will it be a deterrent? Will it add to some new confusion and new nuances that are been unseen or unprepared for? Only time will tell. I know how we've handled the world right now has been successful, but the future, well, that's a whole nother story.